Welcome to another episode of STORK. My name's James Orsini and I'm the president of the Sasha Group. You know, at Sasha we work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and often these guys have difficulty separating the important from the urgent. This deer in a headlight approach often wreaks havoc on their time management system. So today I want to introduce you to an approach that we use at the Sasha Group that was first coined by Dwight D. Eisenhower. For those of you who don't know Eisenhower, he was commander-in-chief of the Allied forces during World War II. He later went on to serve as our president from 1953 to 1961. And his speech he once gave, he said, "I have two types of problems. I have important and urgent. And the important are rarely urgent, and the urgent are almost never important." The four-quadrant decision box that we're about to talk about was created by Steve Covey and Roger Merrill in their book, First Things First. It was also included in Covey's book later on that many of you may have heard about, and the 7 Habits of Effective People. At the start of 2019, our first year at the Sasha Group, we did a little more than $10 million in revenue. And Gary asked us to put together a budget, and we put together a budget that showed 25% revenue growth in year 2. Gary asked me at that time what was our plan to achieve that growth. We really didn't have history, and there certainly wasn't a lot of clients that I could point to. So I showed him our priorities. Our priority matrix, which can be seen here, was along the x-axis. We talked about the importance, and the y-axis, the urgent. Prioritizing in the upper right, important and urgent matters, going around the circle, looking at things that were urgent but not very important in the upper left, urgent but less important in the lower right, and then the nice to haves, not very important and not too urgent in the lower left. I wrote an article about this called Sasha 2020. A dream without a plan is nothing more than a wish. We'll share a link with that where I describe how I and the leadership addressed every priority on the matrix to eventually achieve our 2020 goals. We stuck with the matrix for more than a year. So you can see how the Eisenhower Matrix can be applied to daily tasks as well. Urgent and important tasks which need to be dealt with ASAP in the upper right. Urgent tasks that aren't that important in the upper left, which could be delegated. Important tasks that are not very urgent in the lower right, which could be scheduled. And then not too important and not too urgent tasks in the lower left, which are really nice to have, or in fact may actually be eliminated from your to-do list. But how else might the matrix be used? So without really doing it any harm, we've expanded the matrix and now use it as what we call a client plotting graph. I've asked members of my team to plot Sasha clients, we service over 50 per quarter now, into the same matrix. Oftentimes we'll plot agency effort across the x-axis and profitability along the y-axis. I'm certainly looking to do more with clients that require little effort and bring us great profit. What about the clients that require a lot of effort and don't bring us too much profit? Those are certainly on my radar screen. Either we figure out, I know exactly why we're doing that and servicing those clients, or they're on a possible exit strategy if we can't figure out a way to course correct them. Other times I've used a client plotting graph to show marquee value, like what's the value of the client to the firm versus the money that they bring into the firm. I've used this plotting graph when I was Chief Operating Officer at Saatchi & Saatchi or Chief Operating Officer at Interbrand. And in that case, you would think you want to service all clients in the upper right-hand corner, right? Clients that people have heard of, that bring you a lot of money. But that's not the case. There's different times when servicing clients in a particular quadrant makes sense. In the first and second quarter of the year, it's okay to service clients that bring good marquee value, names that you've heard of, that may not have big budgets, because you could eventually grow them from the lower right to the upper right by the end of the year. By the third and fourth quarter of the year, money's green. We're trying to make budgets and reach our commitments, and nobody really cares if they haven't heard of the client in the upper left, as long as it's bringing in the money. But what about clients in the lower left? Should you ever really service clients there? The answer is maybe. We use that oftentimes as a training ground for our next round of managers, as we're bringing them up into the system. I remember when I was Chief Operating Officer for VaynerMedia, I was visiting one of our international offices, and I asked them to do the same client plotting graph. And lo and behold, we found that the senior leadership of the office was spending the bulk of their time in the lower left-hand corner, servicing clients that were super needy. Squeaky wheel gets the oil, so to speak. It wasn't the best use of their time. We were able to course correct that and move it along. So there you have it, flock. The Eisenhower Matrix, a simple way to prioritize urgent versus important and look to bring back time management in a more efficient way, or client profitability, or however else you decide to use this decision matrix. I'm going to ask Eric and the team to link articles here. We've referenced at least 4 from this. And if you can, don't forget to take the time to read the one that I wrote on Medium. Sasha 2020, a dream without a plan is nothing more than a wish. We'll see you next time on STORK.